I'm going to say a little bit about IR right now. I'm going to give you the basics of it. I'm not going to explain the theory behind IR. I just want to explain some of the peaks. Now, depending on what your instructor wants, your instructor may want you to memorize or pretty well know for every single functional group where a peak or a stretching would occur. That's totally fine. If that's it, that's not what I'm showing you. I'm showing you kind of the basics so that you can look at an IR and get the general idea and generally know what functional groups are appearing. And that's the best what IR can do. It shows you what the functional groups are. So, you know, if an IR specialist were looking at this, they'd almost revolt because I'm just going to make it really simple and take some of the difficulty out of it. So let me show you how this works in my mind. Okay, there's only a couple things that I keep in my mind. First of all, you'll see they can look very messy. And anything below about, here's the 1500 mark, anything below here could look really messy and I don't care about it, okay? It doesn't go in swirls like that, they're just peaks. But I don't care about this. So this is, people who are experts can definitely read this, but usually I don't get too much information out of it. So I kind of ignore everything below 1500, even though it could give you information. Okay, now let's work above 1500. 3000 is an interesting spot because if you get peaks above 3000, these peaks point downward. If you get them above 3000, you're mostly looking at a double or triple bond. If you get peaks just below the 3000 mark, that's a normal alkane, okay, with no double or triple bonds. So 3000 mark can be pretty helpful as far as that goes. So if you have an aromatic compound, so you see I have that marked here. If you have an aromatic compound, you know that has double bonds, but the aromaticity does something interesting. Not only will you get some peaks up here, they could vary, but they're usually fairly skinny. You'll also get these kind of rolling hills, which are harmonics of the overtone, somewhere around the 2000 mark. So it could be just somewhere around the 2000 mark is where you're going to get that. Could be below for sure. But they'll look like little hills or little bumps. If you have this and that, you have an aromatic. So probably some sort of benzene phenyl group is in there. And so far, all I've got is the 3000 mark, and then I have this thing with the aromatic and these rolling hills right there, which are the overtones. So far we're up to here. The next thing I remember is at around 1700, which is right here. If you have a peak that pretty much goes to the bottom of your graph and is one single solid peak, it's probably going to be around 1700. It could be a little lower, a little higher. That means you have a carbonyl, a C double bond O. That could be a ketone, could be an ester, whatever. Any sort of carbonyl group. So I'm always on the lookout for that. If you see it, it's huge, it's definitely there. Okay, and you got a carbonyl. The last thing that I remember really is the OH group, and that's the last thing I'm usually looking for. The OH group is easy to spot because it is this huge blob that you're wondering what the heck happened to my NMR, IR. It looks like somebody sat on it. This monster spot is really wide, it's really big. It basically covers up all other peaks in this area. Remember, this is the alkene and alkyne peak area. It covers up everything, and that's your OH group. It's greater than 3000, it's just a huge. Okay? So really, I know it's not much, but this is what I remember, and this has turned out to be fairly helpful for me just to know the basics. So the greater than 3000 for the double or triple bonds, less than 3000, just right below it, is the alkyls. Aromatics is greater than 3000 because it's an alkene, and it has these rolling hills somewhere around 2000, 1900. We've got the huge peak that's nice and sharp around 1700 for the carbonyl. And finally, we've got greater than 3000, this big ugly band. That's the OH. I tend to ignore everything below 1700. And so this is what is mostly helpful to me. You can take a look, most any OChem book will have a whole list of stuff that's in there. They'll have things about peaks in the 800 range and all the way down there. Sometimes there's a couple other helpful ones to know. You might want to know some things about the nitrogen groups. There's some interesting peaks around 2200 or so for the CN group, the C triple bond N at the 2200. That's could be a good one to know. An amine will give peaks above 3000. That's sometimes helpful to know if you're dealing with amines at all. But as far as doing your typical OChem sort of exam question, this should be helpful. So again, I might add, if you want, C triple bond N, you'll get some smaller sharp peaks at around 2200. And then, what was the other thing? The amine, NH2, NH3, etc. Some sort of amine group. It'll be greater than 3000. So that could give something up there as well. All right, so it's up to what your instructor tells you, how much you'll need to know about this, but this should be the basics if you need to know the bare minimum.